Hello and a very warm welcome back to Widowed AF. You're here with me. I'm your host, Rosie Gill-Moss. And joining me, my first African guest all the way from Joburg, I have got Shirley Pegram. Hello, Shirley.
Hello. How are you?
Welcome. I'm very well, thank you. And a very warm welcome to the podcast. Thank you ever so much for coming on. Now, I get a little bit of a preview of my guest stories before they come on. So I know that you are pretty fresh at widowhood. You're pretty new. So your husband, Adrian, died 10 months ago. So I'm going to be really gentle with you because I think you're probably still feeling quite raw. And I think it's really brave of you to want to come on at this point in your grief. And I think it's also a part of grief that we kind of reflect back on, but I don't speak to that many people who are currently in it. So actually to have that kind of perspective, I think is going to be really helpful for a lot of people out there. So I applaud your bravery and I'm really looking forward to telling your story.
I've been told I've braved so much. So
God. I know. I'm sorry. I'll give you a little head tilt in a minute if you want as well.
I do feel brave. I feel very brave. So I've done a lot of things in the last.
And you know what? It kind of makes you brave, doesn't it? Because you do get that almost
into brave.
Yeah, you don't have and we talk about not having a choice, but actually we do have a choice because you do either descend into that kind of darkness or you drag yourself up and get brave. And you don't get much braver than coming onto a podcast and talking about the most difficult points in your life. So I think as far as sort of bravery goes, I think this is pretty high up there. So in my customary fashion, I'm going to get you to tell me your story. I said to you before we came on mic that I want to hear about, you and Adrian, you were together 30 years. So I want to know about him as the person as well as the person who died. So I'm kind of going to give you the floor here and let you tell me about your life with Adrian.
Oh, thank you. And what a life it's been. We met 30 years ago. So I was 22 and he was, I think, 25. We met through a mutual friend. He moved up from Durban. It's a city about 6 hours from here on the coast. And I'd met him a few years before, but he didn't make much of an impression. And I thought, and then when he moved up, my friend said, "Oh, we have to look after this guy." His name was Adrian, but his nickname was Nobby. So he had a really funny nickname
Nobby.
from school. So I might call him Nobby, Nobby. So I tend to.
Please do.
I called him Nobby. I called him Nobby, so I might say Nobby Adrian. So that's what he had lots of names. But he was just amazing. We just clicked. We were from 22. There was no question. We were just meant to be. We were best friends. He was the funniest person I've ever met. I mean, even 30 years later, I laughed at all his stupid jokes, and he told the same jokes, and I still thought he was funny. So we got engaged I think I met him in 94, engaged in 95, married in 96. And our life started it was wonderful. We were just so happy, and he was my best friend. He knew everything about me. He loved me. He told me a million times a day. He absolutely adored me. And I mean, now as our technology improved, with SMSs and WhatsApps, he would send me messages. I mean, I've been looking. That's also the hardest part in the first years. I tend to go back to what he sent me today, this time last year, and there's just hearts. I mean, today was just hearts, and today's was this time last year. He said, I adore you, absolutely adore you. And I was just showered in this constant adoration. He was amazing. I mean, we just had such a lot of fun. So we ended up having 2 daughters. They are now 25 and 23. So, so they were just, as a family, we traveled, we did so many holidays together, and we laughed, and he was brilliant with them. I mean, he just used to read stories and do all the voices. And I mean, it would be bedtime and I'd have everybody quiet, and he would go down the passage and they would be screaming and laughing, and he'd wake them all up again. It would all just be chaos. So he was just a fun guy. I mean, he was just amazing, absolutely amazing. So then he was never a big, when I first met him, he wasn't a drinker as such. We didn't drink a lot of alcohol. And as time wore on, he had a really stressful job in an investment bank. and it revolved around a lot of entertaining. He traveled in Africa, did a lot of drinks after work, and slowly, I think, if I look back now, it was only beer. He never drank anything more than beer, he never drank spirits or wine occasionally, but not a lot. And the beer just increased, and he put on weight, became a bit, it was about when he was 40-ish. One of the dads at school dropped dead from a heart attack. So all the mothers panicked and said, "Oh, you need to go to the doctor and be checked," because he wouldn't go for checks. He refused to go to the doctor. He didn't do yearly checks. He just said no. So eventually I sent him off. I forced him. I mean, eventually he went and he was checked. Everything was fine, but he was told that he had a slightly fatty liver. And the GP said to him, we need to find out what is causing this, because anything can cause a fatty liver, but let's give up alcohol for a month and see. And if that's the core, if we see it's the ALT and the AST, I've learned so much, that's the liver enzyme level. And if that drops, then we know that it's alcohol causing it, and you can't, you have to stop. So he did stop for a month and everything dropped fantastically. And the GP said, well, there it is. You have to slow down. You can drink 6 beers a week, not 6 beers a night. And that was fun. So he was great. I mean, he really took that on board and thought, I'm going to do this. And life, just to go back a bit, he lost his mother when he was 23. I never met her. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died within 6 weeks of diagnosis. That was in the early 90s. So there was no chance. And even now that's just horrific. So he had never got over that. I don't think he ever got over the death of her. And he believed, I think, that if you go and get checked, they tell you you're dying and then you die. He had this weird thing in his head. He watched his mother die. He sat at her bedside and he said to me, I will never want anybody to go through watching somebody die. And the ironic thing is, he did that to me because I watched him die. So, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. I mean, but his mom, so I think, and I never met her. So I think just after, I don't think he ever got over the loss of his mother and her being so ill. So I think, strangely, that was his fear of doctors. He just said, if they tell you you're going to die, you will die, and you'll have cancer and die. So at 40, he listened to the doctor. He went back. Actually, I think he did go back 6 months later. And every time since then, whenever I saw my GP, he'd say, oh, how's Adrian doing? Is he scared of me? And I'd say, oh, he's not really behaving. But anyway, so 15 years later, it just slowly increased. And I think there's a lot of, there's more to it than just an addiction. He had an abusive father. And funny enough, when his mother died, only then did he tell people what his father had done to him from the age of 10 to 12. So he then started speaking about it, told me about it. I was 22. I didn't know how to cope. We didn't really talk in depth about it until later on. And looking back, just looking back, I just realized that he said he didn't need help, he didn't need therapy, but he was self-medicating, and the alcohol just increased. And I think then stupid COVID hit. I mean, COVID didn't help anything, because up until then he was running a business. He was such a clever man. I mean, he was an engineer, and he was just so brilliant. And we started our own IT consultancy. It's 10 years ago. And he was fantastic. He'd fly to Cape Town, which is a city, I'm sure you've heard of Cape Town, and it's beautiful. And we were almost going to move there because the biggest client was there. So before COVID, he was going once a month for about a week, working hard, loving it, doing so well. I mean, the business was flying. He was just brilliant. And in between the traveling, he would work from home. So when COVID hit, the work didn't bother him because he was online. Everything was set up and he carried on working. But obviously the isolation, I think, such a sociable, big personality, loved people. I mean, whenever we went anywhere, he was the In fact, my brother used to always laugh when he walked in. You know, the Graham Norton show always says, "Let's start the show," and Adrian would always walk in and say, "Let's start the show." He was flamboyant, and he would do Graham Norton and say, "Let's start the show," and he would be the show. So I think COVID, just that whole lockdown was just horrific, and he carried on working. In fact, the work was fantastic. He was busy, but we just then had to stay at home. And then our government, very interesting enough, banned alcohol. We could not buy alcohol. Yeah, they banned it. They banned it for the first, from the March to the June. So we didn't realize it was going to be so long. The thinking behind it, which is interesting, is that if there wasn't so many drunk people around, there'd be less hospitalizations for people that have been stabbed or shot, or I don't know. I mean, which is ridiculous because the black market just went crazy. I mean, you could get it, but you would pay 10 times more. So my dear husband desperately needed his beer, and we bought a lot. I mean, he went and stocked up before the lockdown, but then was just drinking it every day and thought, well, you know what, we'll just, and then it was announced that it was extended. So then he organized, but he was fine. He actually went for a few months without anything, and he was actually okay. So over that year, we had a lot of banning of alcohol. So he was fine, actually. If I think back, that was 2020. He was actually okay. He could do without it. It wasn't so desperate. But after that, it just became every night. And it was, he couldn't sleep if he hadn't had his beer. And then the problem was he kind of put pressure on me. So I was joining him in having wine, and it became a toxic thing. It was just terrible. And we never fought about anything in our lives. I mean, we really were friends. We never had arguments. The only thing we argued about was me panicking that he was going to die. And even my children said that to me. They were so worried that he was going to die because of this liver, that he wasn't looking after his liver. And, your liver does everything for you. I didn't realize what your liver actually does. It does absolutely everything. So, so that year, so from 2020 to 24, for 3 years, really, it just got progressively worse. And he didn't want to go out when we could go out. He became far more withdrawn. And I think he said he had IBS, a lot of stomach issues, and I think he was anxious a lot of the time if we did go out, that he might have an issue and need the bathroom. And now looking back, it's all to do with the liver. It had nothing to do with anything else. It was all the liver. I mean, I've learned, I'm like an expert at the liver. If anybody wants to know anything, I can tell you about a liver.
I could probably get my guests to put together a full medical manual with their knowledge of because you do. Sorry, I said I wouldn't interrupt you, and here I go. But you do. You have to become an instant expert in whatever medical condition the person that you love has got. And I mean, I don't know how people do it. I really don't. I don't think I've got the brain power. But yeah, honestly, we could get you all together and probably do our own guide to various different illnesses.
And in normal lay terms, because these doctors use such big words, you don't know what they're talking about. Just tell us the realistic things. So anyway, so then the January 23, his dad died. And over the years, we'd had minimal contact, and I wish now I'd had no contact with him. For some reason, I had it in my head that we needed to keep some contact with him. And there was a lot of, obviously, resentment. And I mean, he had a very superficial relationship with him. And when he died in January, he said to me, I feel like people are going to wonder why I don't care. And nobody knows why I don't care about this man, and I'm not going to the funeral, especially our children. They knew he didn't have a good relationship with his father, my kids. They also thought he was a bit of a dick. So but
feel free.
They didn't have much of a relationship with him either. So then Adrian decided he wanted to tell the girls what his father had done to him. And it was sexual abuse. So he said, and I said to him, if you really think you need to tell them, he said, I think they need to understand me, and I need to tell them. So that was his father died in the January, and in the May, he sat my girls down and he told them. I mean, they were absolutely devastated. And the strange thing is he waited for his dad to die before he told them, which it's almost like he protected his abuser somehow.
Yeah.
That's how I'm thinking about it now. And in hindsight, the psychiatrist even said to me that that was the trigger. He thinks that just from then on, it just spiraled. From May 23, he just became this brilliant person, wonderful person. He just changed. Everything changed. He physically wouldn't go to the doctor, still wouldn't go to the doctor. And I mean, he physically was not well. I could see he wasn't well. And the liver also affects your brain. The toxins make you go a bit loopy. And he did. He became forgetful. He said inappropriate things. I was a bit worried about what he was going to say. And he was never like that. I mean, he was just such an incredible man. And this brilliant man became anxious, depressed, strange, forgetful, repeating himself. I thought he was getting dementia at 55. I thought this man's going a bit loopy. So but looking back now, I realize it was longer than maybe from the May, June, July. This time last year, it really hit that he wasn't well. And he just would not go to the doctor. And I think he knew he was dying. It was very strange. He made phone calls to people that he hadn't spoken to in years for their birthdays. He said, I'm not going to Facebook anybody. I've got to reconnect with people. And he phoned people that he hadn't spoken to in 10 years and said, I just want to tell you, I'm thinking of you on your birthday. It's a very strange behavior. And at the time I thought, oh, well, maybe he's relooking. I didn't obviously think he was thinking he was going to die. I mean, it was just so, yeah. So that was this time last year. He became very tired, very, very tired. And again, it's the liver. I mean, the liver controls everything. So the exhaustion levels, he was a big online gamer. So he played these role-playing games like Diablo and World of Warcraft. I mean, he played that since he was in his 20s. I know it's like all the people around the world, these were his friends. So
Yeah.
he would sit at night and play all these games, and he'd have to do, I don't know, you have to do all sorts of tasks, and I don't know what it was. But anyway, he had lots of friends. But the problem then, he would sit up until whatever time in the morning, and we have an office separate to our home, and he would sit there, and beers would be involved. So he'd sit and drink, and never got drunk. Never ever got. I don't think I've ever seen him drunk. He wasn't a falling over drunk. He wasn't abusive. He was just happy. He never got slurry. He could just handle his alcohol. And my doctor even said, if he's seen people who drink 10 times more than he drank, but their livers are fine. So he had a compromised liver. And some people are born with livers that cannot handle alcohol. And his 10 beers that he was having is like 40 for somebody else. So he had a predisposition, and he should really not have been drinking any alcohol or taking painkillers or anything, which he didn't take a lot of, but he did take Nurofen and the odd anti-inflammatory, which also isn't good for your liver. So yeah, it was just a matter of, I think it just increased. And I mean, I tried everything. I begged him. My kids begged him. We just said, you need to look after your health. And it wasn't that he was became a horrible person, and he was functioning. He wasn't lying. You think of a person who's an alcoholic, because I guess that's what he was. I mean, I haven't spoken to anybody about this except my family. And I have one friend who gets it, but she's been through something similar. So I can talk to her, but I haven't told anybody the truth. Well, I haven't, not that I'm not told them the truth, but I've kind of just said liver failure, bad lifestyle, because as soon as you say alcoholic and liver, in fact, it was one of your guests. I think her name was Sarah.
Sarah.
Yes.
I know
She
exactly.
came on, and when she was speaking, I just thought she's talking to me. The way she described her husband and described the judgment and the sort of stigma attached to someone with an addiction. And I think her husband had a similar experience in his childhood.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, he did. And funnily enough, I'm actually going through transcripts of old episodes at the moment because I'm writing a book. And I was
Wow.
reading it, and it just coincidentally happened that I've just done a chapter on addiction and alcohol. And I was reading it, and it was the way she described him as being dehumanized. And as
Yes.
soon as they
Yeah.
found out that he had addiction problems, and the fact that she was then inhibited about going and asking for support because she didn't want to tarnish when he was alive, she didn't want to tarnish his reputation. And then when he died, his memory. And actually what
Mm.
she's done and what you're doing now is by talking about it, because I'm a recovering addict. I struggled with alcohol addiction for most of my life, and I don't look like an alcoholic. I never did. And it is, like you said, it's not the people necessarily on the park benches. It's these functioning, often middle class veneer, functioning
Wonderful,
alcoholics.
kind people. They're not falling on the
Hmm.
floor beating
You
their
know,
wives. You know, it's not,
no,
it really wasn't. It's, he wasn't at all like that. So I just think people don't get it, and I think an addiction like that, well, for him in particular, there was a reason for it, and I had such empathy for people. There's a reason, and if that hadn't have happened to him, or if she'd gone to therapy and been on antidepressants, that's the first thing the psychiatrist said to me, is he should have been on some kind of antidepressant to help him cope. He was self-medicating, and it was to cope with. Strangely enough, it was when his father died that it hit him more, I think. It was
yeah,
PTSD. That's what the psychiatrist said to me afterwards. So yeah, and it's hard to talk about addiction because people judge you straight away. They think, oh, well, why can't you just stop? Why can't you just stop?
yeah.
And someone with that, I think even he was an addictive type person with his gaming. He would play for hours. Whatever he did, he threw himself into it, and the same as drink. And he only drank beer. And this is what I think people think, you have to be drinking bottles of whiskey, and he didn't do that. It was, in fact, that, oh gosh, we had a recycling company come and take our recycling once a week, and I used to just get so embarrassed because they'd pull up and the bin would be there, and they would pull this bin, and it would just be these beer cans crashing in. Every Wednesday I would just think, oh, there goes my bin. It was terrible. I mean, it was
I used to
embarrassing.
hide
So
mine. I used to hide them in the recycling bottles. There was one in the
yeah,
school playground, and I used to go up and put them in the recycling bottle because I didn't want my mum to see.
people
But
to see. I know.
before I even spoke to you, I just made a note on here, which is just a printout of your application. And I've just put down trauma response. No one drinks like that for fun, because and this is before I even heard you talk about Adrian and or Nobby, and to hear what a devoted father he was, what a gregarious, charismatic man. And so the idea that of him then continuing to drink, even though he knew that his life was potentially in jeopardy, the two just don't tally up. So
No.
no sane, rational person thinks those 8 to 10 beers a night are worth my life.
Mm,
And
mm.
anybody in active addiction, or anybody recovering from addiction, they are doing so because they have experienced, whether it be a massive trauma like he experienced, which
Yeah.
the poor
Yeah.
guy, right? The poor fucking
And
guy.
I know. And no, he couldn't. And in the 70s, was it 70s? Because he was born in 68. So yeah, late 70s.
Mm,
Nobody spoke about that. And you couldn't blow your entire family. If he said anything, what would happen? So he had to just
no,
be quiet. And then she went to boarding school, which I think saved him because he got away from him. So I
it's just,
think
yeah.
it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And I feel like I wish I could have done more. Like, well, I don't know what, he was so determined that it wasn't going to define him. It will not define me. Those were his words. It will not define me. I will break the cycle. And he was determined that he was going to beat this thing. And he did. I think he did until
Well, I was going to
54.
say, actually, for 54 years, it did not define him, did it? It didn't. He
No, it
was a
didn't.
loving,
The last,
as I said, devoted father. And
yeah,
for many people, that kind of trauma, it prohibits them from being able to form relationships and attachments. So for
yes,
him,
yeah,
his
yeah.
coping mechanism, it sounds like it was the beer, and little wonder really. But I think even when he would have told you, I mean, at 22, I wouldn't know what to do with that information. Things like we now there's therapies like EMDR, like that would have, but
Yes.
who knew, right?
Yeah.
Who knew? I didn't
Yeah.
even know about it until a couple of
In the
years ago.
90s. Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Um,
thing. Ugh, yeah. I don't know.
and I
It's,
think it's kind of, I don't know whether it is of note, but the fact that he died when your girls were like, his mother died when he was 23 and yours were 22
yeah.
and 24. The fact that he
Strange.
died right in the middle of
Same
that as
time.
well.
Amy, my eldest at 23, just said he's the only person that would understand what she's going through because she was the same she was the similar age. So
So,
yeah, it's horrible,
so
horrible.
tell me, so I'm just going to drag you back into your harrowing story. Back in we go. So talk to me, what's happening now? So the drinking is increasing, but so are the kind of symptoms of presumably what
I think
was
the drinking
liver
slowed.
failure.
I think the drinking slowed down because he actually physically
Okay,
couldn't. He was going to
because he
bed.
felt so
He was
unwell.
falling asleep and going to bed because he felt so unwell, and he was eventually stopped eating. So at the end of November, he was not eating. He would not eat anything, and he would have a
And
little bit
still
of
not going to the
breakfast,
doctors?
not going to the doctor. So to
You
me,
must
an
have been going
intelligent
mad.
person would know something's wrong. He did know something was wrong. And then he was looking, then his eyes went yellow. And I just said to
Mhm.
him, I know your eyes are yellow. There's something wrong. And on the last weekend, so the end of November, I said to him, I'm taking you to the emergency room now on the Sunday. And he refused. And eventually I phoned his brother and I said, who lives in Cape Town, I said, you've got to help me. And he said to him, okay. And he eventually said to him, you have to go. He said, I don't want to go today. I'll go tomorrow. So I said, okay, I'll take you tomorrow, but I'm not taking you to a doctor because if I take you to a doctor, the doctor's going to send you for tests and you won't go. I'm going to take you straight to the ER, to the emergency room with a packed bag and we're going. And on that Monday morning, I physically had to put him in the car. I mean, I was about to phone my brother to help me actually because he wouldn't go. He was said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I think he knew that it was so bad. So they took
So is
him
he
in.
sorry, was he just physically refusing to go? So you are literally having
Yeah,
to almost manhandle a grown man out of
yeah,
the house.
yeah.
That
Would
must
not
have
go.
been really
Because
tough.
he said, if you go to hospital, you die. Because that's what happened to
Yeah.
his mother. So he had this weird block in his head. So I
Mm.
got him there. And then they did that when they checked him initially, the triage nurse checked him. His blood pressure was fine. So he said, oh, that's great. He thought he was diabetic. For some reason, he had a diabetes problem. And the sugar levels were fine. So everything was actually going all right. But I mean, obviously, eventually we got in to see the doctor. We waited and waited. And they felt something on his stomach, and they thought maybe it was a colon issue. So they hadn't done the bloods yet. And so they, thank goodness, checked him in because I said, look, please don't send him home. He will not come back. I know he won't. So they checked him in. They admitted him, which was such a relief. And then from there, that was the Monday. They said they want to do a colonoscopy on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. And then they ran the blood tests and they saw the liver. And the liver levels were horrific. And the bilirubin is another, that's the yellow, the bilirubin causes the yellowness. I can't even remember if that level's high, it shows the toxins. And that was horrific. So the doctor said, okay, this is the problem. Your liver is struggling. We've got an issue, but let's do the colonoscopy and see. So Monday, Tuesday, he was still lucid. On the Wednesday, he went in for the colonoscopy. They did find a few things on the colon, but the doctor just said, that's the least of our worries. We'll get in there later and sort them out. So when he came out of the anesthetic, he was very confused. And I thought, well, that's the anesthetic, because sometimes you can be a bit confused. But he never actually came out of anything ever again. But that was the Wednesday. By the Thursday, he was seeing robots. He was having hallucinations. He was seeing people behind me, blue people. I think he was playing his game in his head. He was seeing monsters. It was horrific. So that Thursday, Friday, he was agitated, trying to take the drips out. I came home. Eventually, the nurses at midnight phoned me and said, please, we need you to come and help us. He's not staying in his room. So I went and slept the night there, which the doctor apparently went mad the next day and said I should never have been left with him because he was totally out of it. He was saying something's behind you. You got to go and kill the monsters. He was having hallucinations. And they say that it was a withdrawal because now he hadn't had alcohol for 4 days. His liver was in severe distress. The toxins were his brain was, they had to sedate him. So by Friday, they started sedating him to almost comatose him. He was But Saturday he was gone, and I never spoke to him properly again, because for 3 weeks he was in a general ward, and eventually they put him into ICU for 2 weeks, where he did come out of it. Then they tied him down. It was just horrific that he was. And I also think, I mean, I threw such a hissy fit because I felt like we were being judged. We were being judged. No one was
Yeah.
talking to me. The doctor was not talking. I had one doctor, the colonoscopy guy was a different doctor. He was he wasn't the liver guy. I mean, I don't even think that the specialist physician was so short with me. He said to me, because then Adrian said, "Oh, thank God I haven't got cancer." He said, "What you've got's worse than cancer." He was just so, and this is a private hospital. He was so horrifically brash and horrible that this other doctor, who I'd actually known through my father, he treated my dad. He was a lot kinder to me and did speak to me. That's another thing. Sorry, speaking about my dad, in June 2020, we lost my dad. Not from COVID. He had other complications, checked into hospital, and we couldn't see him, and he died before we got there. And he was Adrian's dad more than his own dad. So he adored my father. They were just, so I think that also during COVID, that knocked him terribly, losing my dad. And then he felt this responsibility that he needed to look after my mom, and which he was amazing. My mom would come and stay with us, and he always looked after my mom. So I think he took that really hard, losing my dad. So the doctor that was nice to me was the one who had treated my dad. So he kind of knew me, and he would just, he wasn't even treating him, but he would message me and communicate with me a bit, and just said,
Yeah.
this is really serious. The other doctor was very short, and I demanded one day to go and speak to him, and said, "What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? He's just lying there. He's sedated. Why is he not coming out of the sedation?" And they said, "Oh, well, the liver's struggling." Nobody would really tell me. And I really think that they thought, he's done this to himself, so let him just, it's self-induced, and let's let him lie there. At least in ICU, he had a lot more, obviously round-the-clock care, but then he just deteriorated. Then he was on, the last week, he was on full-time dialysis, because now the kidneys give up. So it was just at Christmas Eve, the one locum doctor said to me, "If he gets through this, he'll be lucky." So I kind of started realizing, for the first time after 4 weeks almost, that he might die. Nobody had said that to me. They kept saying, "Oh, we're just going to keep him on this tree." Then he got pneumonia because of lying down, and then he was on antibiotics, and it just was horrific. And I never had a conversation with him again, because he was in and out of lucidity. He would talk rubbish. He knew who I was. He knew who the kids were, but generally just not knowing what was going on. So that for me was the most horrific thing, that I couldn't speak to this person. That was, I mean, it was always, he had an illness benefit with one of his policies, that we always thought if he was ill, he would, like a broken leg or in hospital, he'd be able to work or still. But so he never upped that. So the money coming in, I couldn't bill anything, because he did the work. So I had no income, and it was just, I just had to sort of hope and pray that he was going to eventually come out of this. And almost dying was better, because the policies paid out more than if he would been alive, because the illness benefit, we would have had to sell our house, sell everything. So for 5 weeks, for 3 weeks, I thought he was going to live. And then on New Year's Day, the nice doctor said to me, does he have a living will? And then I just thought, well, he doesn't want to be resuscitated, so that's it. So then I knew we were just waiting. So it just got steadily worse. And I mean, I sat there. The hospital's about 15 minutes away, and I was allowed to go there twice a day. And I sat twice a day. I went in the morning, in the evening, and I would just sit with this person talking rubbish to me. I put pictures around so he could see us, and he just wasn't there, which actually is a good thing, because he was having a whale of a time. He wasn't in any pain. He was talking to his dead mother, which was fabulous. He introduced his mother to my children. He was baking carrot cake with his mom. So I believe that she was there, maybe. I don't know. But he was having a glorious time. He was doing maths problems. He was laughing, chatting to everybody. So maybe, in a way, that was a good thing, he slept a lot, and he was just yellow, like mustard, that his skin just got worse and worse. And the dialysis was they'd put a needle in his neck, and it was horrific. So, so that was the Tuesday morning. The doctor phoned me at 7 and said, "You've got to get you." And I was alone. My children don't live with me. They've moved out. They live about half an hour away. So thankfully, they have the most wonderful boyfriends. I mean, these poor boys, they've been thrown into it. So they were all together. The boys moved in with them into their flat, so they were with them the whole time. So at 7 in the morning, I just phoned them and I said to my oldest boyfriend, I said, "Please just drive. The four of you must come and meet me at the hospital." And I drove myself. Amazing how calm you are. I knew that this was it. And I said to my dogs, "I'm feeding you," because I thought I better feed them. I don't know how long I'm going to be. Fed everybody, dressed myself, very calm, drove in peak traffic, past all the schools, through all the traffic, very calmly, got to the hospital. And in my head, I just said, "Wait for me, wait for me." And I got there, my kids got there. And about 20 minutes later, the other thing that you expect to happen is that flipping ER, what's the show? Is it ER? What is that? Grey's Anatomy, where the beeping, the machine beeps. So my oldest kept saying to the nurse, "Will the machine beep? Will the machine beep? I mean, how do we know?" And she said, "No, it's not." And we just watched everything happening. And you just stand there. What do? You just stand there. It's the most terrific thing. He watched his mother for 5 hours, and I just said to him, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do 5 hours. And it was about 20 minutes and he was gone. So I think he knew that he didn't want to put us through that. But so then he just died, and that was that. And I have a dead husband, and I do tend to tell people. I had to trade my car in last week because it's quite old. I walked in and I said to the guy, "I've got a dead husband. Please be nice to me."
And was he?
Yeah, he was lovely.
You get to dine out on that card for quite a while. Yeah, you can pull the pathetic widow for quite some time.
Laughing. I know I laugh a lot about having a dead husband, because you know what? Otherwise, if you don't laugh, what else can you do?
Cry.
I mean,
and we do enough of that already. I really, really relate to that dark human side of things. And it's actually how John and I met, because one of us, I can't remember, it said something hugely inappropriate, and like widows chat, and the other were like, "Oh my God, was that too far?" Because I think it is, if you found things funny before, and it sounds like you did. It sounds like Aid had a really good sense of humor.
Well, he would have laughed. He would have told me to do that. He would have thought that was very funny.
Yeah, like you've got to that you haven't been completely eroded. If you were funny and you found things funny before, you're probably still going to find them funny. And I think it is, dark humor is probably one of the safest coping mechanisms that widows have been known to use anyway.
Oh gosh.
So I did not realise from your application that you'd had this really horrible deterioration at the end. I don't know why. I think I read it and I thought, oh, I'm guessing, hypothesising, that he would have died quite suddenly, perhaps at home. And to hear that you had to watch this man just completely deteriorate before your very eyes. And
I think it was sudden. But you don't realize until you look back that the deterioration. I mean, I obviously realized it was happening, but I don't think I realized the seriousness, or maybe didn't realize that it was happening. Because when it's gradual and it's over 6 months, you think, "Oh, remember he did that. That was strange." And you can't, now I'm putting things together and realizing it was
hindsight.
But then
right?
again, I also realized I was living in a state of fear. I was very scared a lot, and I didn't sleep. And it's going to sound absolutely horrific, but I'm far more. I have a sense of so much more peace now, because I'm not worrying that he's dead in the chair, or that he's, I don't know, that he is just going to carry on doing what he's doing. Even my daughter said to me, she always worried he was going to die, and now he's dead, so now she doesn't have to worry anymore. So we did worry, but I don't think we realized we were worried. I don't think I realized the stress. Mind you, the doctors, I'm on antidepressants and anxiety meds, so maybe that's what's helping me feel better. he said, I have to be until I've got through the first week. And then, so in January, we all reassessed because I've never been on medication. I've never had mental health issues. Now I'm finding I've got issues. I mean, I've got a lot of issues. And I've
But
got
no
to,
shit, right? Like
gosh, thanks.
it's you.
Shit.
It was again at the beginning of when you started telling me your story, and like the way you described him, as your best friend, and your person and the love of your life. And I
Yeah, he
think
was.
you have, I suspect, this kind of the term anticipatory grief, which is when you will have grieved for that man quite a while before he actually died,
Yeah, I
because
did. Yeah.
he wasn't there at the end for you anyway. He was whether it be the illness or medication or whatever it may be. And I think you are going to have, there is no way that you cannot be impacted by this, because you
Yeah.
haven't just lost your romantic partner, and like you guys were young, right? You still had
Yeah.
a long time. And
Yeah.
so not only are you
Mm.
losing your past, your present, it's that kind of promised future. And I think many of us find ourselves having to take some sort of medication. I have a love-hate relationship with antidepressants. I take them. I've taken them for quite a lot of my adult life for various reasons. And every now and then I'm like, no, I want to feel everything. I think it's stunting my creativity, blah, blah, blah. I come off them. Life gets really difficult and I go back on them again.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, why would you not give yourself that little kind of protection against the world when you are
Absolutely.
when you're struggling? Because of course you are. And I mean, can I ask about your girls? I don't know whether they've given permission for me to nose into their lives, but you said that they must have been living in that kind of constant fight or flight mode as well.
Yeah.
And I think
So,
there is something incredibly empowering when somebody dies and it has been an illness, and you are able to say, yes, there is a sense of relief. There is a sense of relief because whatever torment that was causing them to drink, use, or eat
yeah.
them from the inside out, if it's a cancer, whatever that is, it's no longer hurting them. And I think once they pass that point of no return, as it were, that's when you're able to. I'm trying to say this in a really tactful way, and I don't know if I'm doing a desperately good job of it, but it's when you are able to sort of think, okay, now it almost would be for the best, because when there's hope, you cling on to that hope with everything you've got. But it's at that point the hope gets taken away. I think people really begin the grieving process.
And only he could do it. Only he could change. You can't do it for somebody. That's what I realized. You cannot make somebody do something they don't want to do. And he just didn't want to stop. So,
and how are you coping with that anger? Because there must be some anger there. And obviously he's not here, so you can't shout at him.
I shouted it. I've got his picture right now. I'm looking at him now and he's smiling at me. They're good for you. I call him a lot of times. I call him a lot of, very often, especially when I'm crying and so no, there is anger, but I feel sorry for him because I think it was what he went through no one should ever have to go through. And I feel guilty that I didn't do more, but I did. We talked a lot, especially in the last few years. He talked a lot about it and he told me details. And I mean, it's horrific. And I just think that it wasn't his fault. So when I get angry, I do have to stop and say it actually wasn't his fault. He could have had help, but it wasn't his fault. So I do try. I think I'm maybe over most of the anger. I'm just sad. I'm just sad. I think like our future. I think that's what is the most the saddest thing is that it's what we planned. We had so many plans. We were going to travel. She wanted to go to France. So we had plans, and we were going to get old. And I think I'm just going to get more wrinkled now. I mean, I've become so lined over this. I think it's affected me so badly. I've lost so much weight because I don't eat when I'm stressed. And he's just going to stay the same, the bugger. He's not going to get older.
Yeah.
I'm going to get all shriveled up, and he's going to those pictures are how he's going to be. So
I think with the kids as well.
Frustration. It's just that I won't see it. We're not going to do all the things we were going to do, all the wonderful things we were going to do. But anyway.
Well, I know your girls aren't technically children, but there will be, there'll be bumps in the road for them. And it's that, fuck you, why do I have to deal with this myself?
The wedding thing, my oldest is a big romantic, and she's already saying who's going to walk her down the aisle. I said, I will. But, that's her biggest thing is that Dad won't be there. So And then my younger one is she graduated and now she's going to get her honors. She's going on to do her master's. So she's really, that was the saddest thing, to go to the graduation. And it was just me, her first graduation. And he went to both of the other ones. So those are the horrible things. But I've done a lot this year. And that's in May, my mom and I, in fact, he had bought us the tickets. We went to the Chelsea Flower Show. We came to London for a week. At the Chelsea Flower Show. He bought them for my mom's 80th birthday, which her birthday is tomorrow. She'll be 81. So this time last year, he said, I'm buying you tickets to go to the Chelsea Flower Show. So he was so excited about it. So it was such a big deal. So we did it. I didn't really feel if I wanted to, but we did it. And it was amazing. So for me, that was a big thing, to do something that the hardest thing was coming home to no one, that he wasn't here to tell him about it, because he would have loved to. He would have wanted a blow by blow. He was one of the, not that we did anything separately, we always did everything together. All our holidays were together. My mom and I did do Wimbledon on our own about 5 years ago. So, and every minute of every day he'd say, what are you doing? Where? You send me pictures. He was so involved. So I really missed that. That was, and my dad also. So this year, my mom and I both, it was big for both of us, because we were alone and we were together, but we didn't have anyone at home besides my brother, who's wonderful, and his wife. I mean, they're amazing, but we didn't have our partners to tell them about it. So that was a big step for both of us. But I mean, it was fantastic. And then in June, I went to his brother's 60th birthday in the Seychelles, which I didn't want to do.
Wow.
We were supposed to go together. Obviously, he was booked. It was supposed to be together. So my double became a single. I was a single person on the trip.
So even that, the paperwork.
Because there were 12 people, and then I was the single one. But anyway, that I didn't want to do, and I did it, and I'm so proud of myself, because that was a big step to do a trip with people I didn't know. I knew some of them, his family, but I didn't know the friends. And that gave me a real sense of, I'm going to be okay. I'm actually I can do stuff. And then in September, I went to India on a yoga retreat with my yoga teacher for 2 weeks. So I've done 3 huge trips.
Wow.
And that can just inspire people to be, I was terrified. I mean, it was totally out of my comfort zone. First of all, to go on holiday without him, because I've never done that in 30 years. This trip, I knew nobody. I just knew my teacher. I didn't know the other 5 ladies that were on the trip. So that was big for me. So it's given me such a sense of bravery. As you said, we're forced into being brave. And I'm feeling so much more confident. So I think if I can say to anybody, just take the trips. Just take the trip.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to my mom and I own a timeshare in the Pilansberg, which is about 2 hours from here. It's a game park. And the same thing. That was we went every year together. That was his special place. We went every year in August. So this year I said to my mom, let's the 2 of us go by ourselves, and we did it. And that was I did my own game drives. He used to always do the driving, and I did the driving. So we built the fires. We call them braais, but they're barbecues. And every night I bride, and the neighbors even said, oh, I wish you'd teach our woman to bride. You ladies brying on your own. And I said, well, we both got dead husbands, so we have no choice. And everyone looked,
we
ran off. We don't need men. But just those trips that we've done, we're going again next month. My mom and I are going to another timeshare, the 2 of us, and we'll drive, and we will go into the park, and we will do the game drives, and we'll light the fires. And so I think for me, it's been liberating, actually, because I knew I could do it, but I never had to. He did all that. Yeah. We traveled, so I've been on 3 overseas trips. I've been very lucky, and I have been it's inspired me to do more. Next year I'm going to go somewhere by myself, because I think I can do it. So I think if that can just give anybody a little bit of hope, that it's so hard. I cried the night before. I didn't sleep the night before. I cried most of the trips. I cried every night, but I got up in the morning and I thought, I can do this. So that's just huge. It's been absolutely huge. Maybe I'm doing too much. Some people have said I'm a bit crazy. I'm doing 100 things at a time, because I am. And
are their husbands dead though?
No, they haven't got dead husbands.
There
and
we
I
go.
sit here alone.
Their opinion is not valid.
Exactly. And I'm busy planning my next trip now. So that's what I'm doing. So it's just, it's just being brave. And uh, maybe I've been given a second chance. That's what I'm trying to think. I
Yeah.
have to. I'm 53. I mean, at 53, I can't give up. I've got too much, and I don't
There's
want to
too
be
much
alone.
left. There's too
I
much
don't want to be
left.
alone. And you inspire me. You're not alone. You two found you and John found each other, and that's just. I think that's amazing. I think it's so.
And I
Oh,
don't think there's
just
anything wrong with saying that you don't want to be alone either. I think that there's almost a
it's
real, again, a stigma around it. You have to
yes,
go through the allotted, society's expectation of how long
truly
each
is.
process will take.
Yes,
And actually,
exactly.
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
If you're open to meeting somebody, and sometimes even if you're not, and they come into your world, then you don't say no. And it's a
no,
bit like all
exactly.
this travel things. And funnily enough, John did this. He after Sarah died, he decided he'd just say yes to everything. He ended up in Ibiza on a lad's holiday, which is not really who he is. And so he did things that were very outside his comfort
Yeah,
zone.
me
And
too. Me
but
too.
you just kind of have to, because you are irrecoverable. I can't say this word irrecoverably. You're changed
Yes,
forever
yeah, no,
by their
yeah,
death,
yeah,
and you are
yeah,
not coming
yeah,
back. The person that
yeah.
was doesn't exist.
No,
And
I'm
I think in some
gone.
ways we perhaps changed for the better. I know that I'm much more empathetic. I'm
Yes,
braver. I'm braver. I was, in hindsight, almost codependent. I didn't do anything for myself. I
me
raised the
too.
kids.
Me
You
too.
fell into very gender sort of specific roles. And,
Exactly the same.
and it's quite, you realize always how infantilized you were. And then to go out and have to do things, even like say traveling, my passport, my boarding pass. And it's just taking that kind of, I don't know, just it's that choice that we talk about so much on here. It's going, actually, there is a wonderful world out there, and I'm going to
Yeah,
see what I can of it. And for some that might be
yeah,
travel, for some it might just be,
yeah.
building a life for them at home. But you find your way through however you do. And I think for me, if I hadn't had young children, I think travel, I would have just gone. And
Oh,
actually, I
yeah, I
did
don't know.
manage to take them away a few times, but yeah, I
Sure.
think you space to grieve, right?
Yeah, I must say I'm very grateful and that my children are independent and that I can actually think I can be selfish. I'm being totally
Mm.
selfish. I mean, I find I'm exhausted a lot of the time. I don't want to see people. I get tired. I need to lie down. I mean, I've never been like that. I'm busy. I go to gym every day. I'm fit. But at 3 o'clock, if I need to lie down, I lie down with my dogs and the cats, and that's what I do. And I've been a lot easier. I'm a lot gentler on myself, and maybe that's the lesson. Maybe oh, I hate that everything happens for a reason, but flip, maybe I needed to slow down. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that
And
was
perhaps
my
we
reason.
learn from things that happen. That's we reevaluate, don't we? And that's kind of what I was trying to
Yeah.
explain this to my daughter who's changing school. So it's kind of, but it kind of applies, and it's that change is really, really scary. But in order to grow, to get better, to do better, you have to make changes, and sometimes that
Mm.
is going back to bed for an hour at 3 o'clock. Man, why is 3 o'clock in the afternoon so brutal? I'm exactly the same. I pick the kids, I pick my daughter up at school, and I'm like a vegetable. I don't know how
No,
people do things.
and it's
And
so
so,
hot here at the moment. We've suddenly had a heat wave, so then it's even worse because it's boiling and just lie there with a fan.
well,
It's
as you were
gosh.
speaking, I don't know whether you could hear the rain. I'm in my garden studio, which has a
Oh,
glass with
was
a
that
roof.
rain? Oh,
That was
wonderful.
rain, and I really didn't want to stop you because you were talking so beautifully. But I was thinking, oh my goodness, can she hear this rain? It's so yeah. We've got biblical rain over here, so you can,
All right.
don't you moan about your sunshine?
Very dry, very dry.
Are
We
you?
had a big storms yesterday, but we're desperate for rain. So, oh, I don't know. So, yeah, life is interesting, and I think if I can just give somebody a little bit of hope, and also realize that we need to talk about addiction is not something that a person can help. I mean, that they need to help themselves, but there's an underlying issue. So I think
Yeah,
that's what when you said empathy, I think I'm far more understanding towards people who have got mental health issues. Number one, that's my because before I would always be sort of okay, but now I'm really my children are on medication. We just all need it, and that's the way
yeah.
we're going to get through, and that's okay, and that's actually okay. So I've just got to just accept it and realize that that's what I need to get through. But oh, it's what an horrific thing to do to actually to be I mean, I don't know if I'm not really that a young widow, I suppose, but I'm younger than the
You
80-year-olds that I
count.
meet, I
And I
think
think
I'd
this
do
is it.
that.
You expect to be widowed. We all know, and I don't know if we do all know it, but there is. If you think about it statistically, if you're in a romantic relationship, one of you's getting widowed. You know,
Yeah.
occasionally you might die together in a tragic accident, but more often than not,
Yeah.
you're going to die. One of you's going to die
Something's
first.
about yeah.
But yet,
Yeah.
still, we don't think it'll happen to us, or at least not into
No.
that kind of long distance. Nobody foresees watching the love of their life die from liver disease at
Yeah.
50. That's just not
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
nobody projects that in their
And
future. And
preventable. It
actually,
was preventable. Actually, it was
mm,
preventable. He could have prevented it, and that's where the anger is. He could have stopped it, but
do you think had he
not
gone to the
only.
doctor sooner and stopped drinking, then it would have been able to be reversed? Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
that
this
is
whole
going to
COVID,
cause so much
I
anger.
wonder if COVID just didn't exacerbate it. Maybe the vaccine, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows. But he never got COVID, but I did. But maybe he did get it and he didn't know. Maybe the liver just, the whole thing, just something happened. It
Yeah,
definitely was from 2021. Yeah, I think that's when it all got, looking back now, I realized that was the start of it all. But it could have been stopped. But then he would have had to change his lifestyle. And he loved nothing better than a big piece of steak and a beer. So how could I have taken that away from him? He would never have been able to eat meat. He would never have been able to have a beer again. So he would have been miserable. And I would have been miserable. So, I
yeah.
mean, I've stopped. I don't drink. I have wine on the weekend, but I've stopped alcohol. But just definitely not during the week. But if I go out on the weekend, I will have some wine. But it's far control. I don't, because and my kids as well. We've seen what it did, but we don't have the underlying issue. So we can just say, no, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
driving. I'm not going to drink, so it's easy. But for him, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to say no. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And you mentioned earlier on that the support system in South Africa is really, really poor. And so I'm guessing that combined with the still sort of societal stigma of addiction meant that there wasn't a huge amount of places or people that you could reach out to when he died. But you do have therapies there, don't you?
Yeah, well, we were in,
Mm.
thankfully, we have private healthcare. So he was in a private hospital. Um, but I don't think I've eventually I managed to get hold of a psychiatrist in the hospital and a psychologist who were very good. So they were very helpful. But by then he was sedated and comatose, so they couldn't talk to him. They spoke to me. So it was too late because so
Mm.
I think the physicians were just looking at the physical side of things. Um, and I don't think there was much more they could have done. I mean, there was talk of, well, my children did huge research as that age group does. They went crazy and were looking for transplants and phoning all over the world. And I mean, they were crazy saying, oh, well, I mean, the doctor just said there's no way he can have a transplant. He's not fit enough to do it. He'll die. I mean, anyway, to get onto a transplant list is a long story. So I think he did get the care that I don't think they could have done more, but I think they could have been a little bit more forthcoming and sat me down and explained to me in the beginning what was actually going on. Eventually, I went to my family GP. I made an appointment with him and sat with him, and he phoned the physicians, and he got the full story, and then sat us down and said, right, this is what's going on. But by then it was too late. I mean, I really don't think there's much more they could have done. I mean, they did everything that they could, but I just think just talking to me, and like, I wonder if I can't if I would love to go and help somebody in another woman who's in the same situation going, what's happening? What's happening? I'm Googling things. I mean, I shouldn't be, the blood tests. I was getting the blood tests. I could log onto the portal and look at the blood tests. And before the doctors didn't even, I never saw them. It was visiting hours, so they wouldn't come. So they would come and do their rounds, and then I never spoke to them. So I was downloading all these blood tests that they would do every day and watching all these levels just rising and going, the bilirubin's on 400 or whatever. I can't even remember, but I mean, it should be on 50. He's getting worse. Nobody's telling me. No one actually sat me down and said, except I suppose the one doctor kind of said it, but no one said he's going to die. Maybe
Yeah.
it's better not to know. Should I? Is it better not to? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, you know what? He did, and that's that. There's nothing we can do. I mean, he's gone. And I had the most. We had a lovely celebration of life. It was color. Jess, my daughter, did the whole thing. The invite was casual and colorful because that's who he was, and we just had a whole lot of. He wasn't a religious person. I couldn't have done it in a church, so we did it at a club, and it was divine. I mean, everybody, so many people came, and it was just. So it was actually quite, we celebrated him rather, and we had beer at the
Did you?
brand that he liked. Just bring on buckets of beer. So you know what? I don't know. I don't actually. I wish I could talk to him now and just say to him, you know, this is what you're doing. Like this is what happened. I say to him often, you died.
Hmm.
You know, you died. You know, you did it, and oh, I don't know. I just think people need to be a little bit more. That's why I haven't told anybody the full. I haven't told anybody that it was alcohol. You know, I guess people have Googled it, and you know, people have assumed. I suppose I just say liver failure, or I've started saying liver disease because I think it sounds more like it's not his fault. But
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, was he ill?" Yes, he had liver failure, and then they just stop. But they say, "Oh," some people sort of say, "Why?" And then I say, "Oh, he just had compromised liver and bad lifestyle." No, I don't want to say, "Oh, he drank alcohol," because straight away people have the wrong. They judge you
Yeah.
immediately, like, "Oh, was he some drunk?" No, he wasn't. So I don't know. I just hope if somebody can hear that and know that, you know, it's not. I don't think there's anything I could have done, or any of us could
I
have
don't.
done, I
From what you've
suppose.
told me today, and I know that we have to condense quite a long period into a relatively short time. But you've mentioned a couple of times that you felt like you didn't do enough and that you felt guilty. And I don't hear that at all in your story. I really don't. I hear that you loved and supported and tried to get him help. And unfortunately, and it often is men, they're really bloody
It is.
stubborn.
They
And you
don't want to
can't
listen.
force a grown adult to go to the doctors. You
No.
can't force them to change their lifestyle. And what you
Yeah.
did is you stood by him and loved him throughout everything.
It is.
You allowed
I
him to
act
talk to you about the trauma he'd experienced. You gave him a
yeah,
safe place to say those words that must have been so painful to hear, as well as to say, but to hear for you. So you gave him all of that, and I think you don't deserve to feel any element of guilt in this at all.
yeah, I don't know. You know, you have days when you just feel you have up days and down days. I mean, some days I feel like I'm on top of the world. Other days, I mean, Monday was a disaster this week. I just couldn't get out of bed. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to. Thankfully, I mean, I've closed the business. I can't run the business. So I've now got to find something to do, you know, something to bring in some income because but I'm grateful I've had this year to just take a breath. I haven't been
Yeah,
forced into having to do something so I can survive, but I'm going to have to do something eventually. But I'm trying to get something going in this country, and I've started a Facebook page called the Upside Down because I feel like the Upside Down Widow. That's my because I do feel upside down. My world's upside down. So I'm trying to sort of inspire people, and I'm just putting things on there and just trying to help other widows that are just struggling, especially in South Africa. I don't think there's anyone doing what you're doing. I mean, you've just been, I've listened, I fall asleep listening to you, to your, I really, I, I
I'm
can't
taking it as a
read anymore.
compliment.
Yeah, no, no, it is a compliment. I used to read books. I can't
Same.
read anymore. I
It
don't
comes
read at
back.
all. I can't,
It
oh,
comes
please, I
back.
don't know.
I check my
Oof.
Kindle because me and my brother are in competition of who reads the most books. And I think I've
Uh,
read 34 books on my Kindle and probably the same again in hardback books this year. And I was like you, I
oh,
was a massive reader and I lost it. And
forgive me.
funny enough, I started listening to a podcast called Terrible Thanks for Asking, which was an American
Oh,
widow.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I've listened to it.
And I
Yeah,
used to fall asleep.
brilliant.
And now I cannot go to sleep without something in my ears. So I alternate between podcasts or audiobooks. But I'm very
Yes,
glad that I was able to give you that. So it's something about the
absolutely.
silence. You don't want the silence in your ears. I need something.
Yeah, so I don't read. I don't. Yeah, I've stopped doing a lot of things that I used to do, but I guess it'll come back. So
It
yeah,
does. Yeah.
podcast. The other one I listen to is Widow We Do Now. They're also very
Yes,
good.
I was on that one
Very good.
actually.
Yes. Oh, yes, you were. I listened to you. Yeah, I was very excited when I saw you on that one. So that's what I do.
I
I
did that in my
flip between.
pajamas.
I did you.
It-
That's fantastic. So yeah, I must say that the podcast and they just help so much. I think just to listen to other people's stories, and we just realize that we're not alone, and that we
Yeah,
can,
there's so
and
much
the
power in
inspiration.
it.
And looking at what you've done with your life, it's inspired me to know that I'll be okay. I will be okay. I
You
have to
will
be
be
okay.
okay. You will. There
No
might still
choice.
be some days where you don't get out of bed, and there might be, I mean,
That's
it
okay.
lands on me out of nowhere for no particular reason on no particular date, and I will just be a puddle of just grief. But what I
Yeah,
find is it just doesn't last as long anymore. You know, you
it's not.
can you
Yes.
can let it ride through. You can accept that you feel really sad, but
Yeah.
also you keep going. You keep fucking going because the
I'm
alternative is
already
too
feeling
awful to
that I
consider.
can pull myself up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel if I fall apart, then it takes me. I can stand up and say, okay, I'm done now. Let's carry
Yeah.
on with the day. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really getting better. So I don't know. Let's hope I can help somebody. I know
I
that's going to
think
be
I don't
okay.
think there's any doubt about it. I think without question, this is going to help people because you talked really, really openly and honestly about some issues that are often left kind of in the dark, in the shade, and it is that shade and that darkness that creates the shame, which creates that barrier to
Mm,
seeking treatment. And I think
mm,
the more we talk about these slightly uncomfortable aspects of humanity and life and death, the less
yeah,
alone we are. And you talk yourself about feeling lonely, and it's incredibly isolating. And even if it is a widow who speaking into your ears from the other side of the world, at least you know that you're not the only person that's had these feelings. And I think
mm,
in the episodes we've got so far, I don't think there's, I mean, obviously every story is unique, but there's always somebody you're like, oh my God, I did that. And even now
yeah,
to this day,
yeah,
I'll be talking to people, I'm like, oh God, I've forgotten about that bit. So
yes, yes.
I'm really grateful to you for coming on, incredibly grateful.
Thank
I
you,
think
Rose.
you are, and I'm going to use the B word, I think you're very brave. And I think courageous and
Yay.
admirable are also some pretty good words. Um, and I genuinely think, I hope this is part of your healing. I do. That's so,
Yes,
well, I can't believe I
it
said
has
that, but
been.
you know what I mean. You did 2 weeks
No,
yoga.
just
You're all good with
no.
that sort of stuff.
I'm so strong and so brave, and I'm doing so well. When everyone's doing
And
so
don't
well,
worry, you're
yes,
still
I
young and
know.
attractive.
Yeah, you can find somebody else.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna
It's
look.
fine. Oh,
Oh,
it has
you've
been an
been great.
absolute pleasure to
Thank you,
talk to you.
Rose.
I can't believe how much we've giggled and considering what a sad story this has been. But, like we said, such is life. And I think for anybody out there who has been listening and has been affected by today's episode, if you want to reach out to me, please do. You know where to get me. And I can certainly pass on any messages to Shirley if you wanted to send any support to her.
Yes,
But for
yes.
now, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever has happened, I hope that you are taking care of yourself with lots of love. And until next time, bye bye. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you think someone else may benefit from this, please do share. We'd also really appreciate a quick review. It helps more people find the show. Thank you again, and see you next time on Widowed AF.